Ciao amici, benvenuti o bentornati a Learn Italian for Travel. Sono Danielle. Come state oggi? Benissimo. I'm making a lot of new videos lately because I'm teaching my Italian 1 community college class all online this semester, and I've realized that I need to supplement my Learn Italian for Travel channel with some details that I missed in the beginning stages. So this lesson today is going to be on nouns, I nomi, and also the indefinite article, l'articolo indeterminativo. And then if we have time, if the video is not too long, I'll include something else at the end, c'è and chisono, how to say there is and now there are. Va bene? Benissimo. Cominciamo. So let's talk about nouns. Hopefully everybody knows what a noun is. It's a person or a place or a thing. And the difference between Italian nouns and nouns in English is that Italian nouns all are going to have a gender. They're going to be identified as either masculine or feminine. And this is so you can make everything, all of the elements within the sentence agree. So if you look at the noun and you know the gender, you can add the correct article, you can add the correct descriptive word, the correct adjective, and then any other elements that you might need that are going to agree in that way, okay? So the masculine and feminine assignment doesn't have anything to do what we think about when we think about gender. Like the masculine, you know, the characteristics that we identify as masculine, or the feminine looks like dainty or something. It's just arbitrary, okay? Car, for example, macchina is feminine. Why? I don't know, okay? Book, libro is masculine. Why? It's just how it is. It's just an assignment, okay? So then with each of these nouns, you're going to make them plural, which we have that same concept in English. So you're already familiar with that. Like we have book and books, same thing, okay? So I want to show you how you're going to do all of that with my handy little whiteboard that I use in all of these lessons, okay? So here's the chart. So masculine, feminine, sing, singular, plural. Hopefully the light's not glaring. Okay, there we go. So the two that I wrote in purple are going to be the most common that you're going to see. These are endings of nouns, okay? So if you see a masculine noun that ends in an O, most likely, but not always, it's going to be masculine and it's going to be singular. And then when you make that plural, you're going to change the ending O to an I. If you see a noun that ends in an A, most likely, but not all the time, it's going to be feminine and it's going to be singular. And then when you make that plural, you're going to change that A to an E, okay? So those are the most typical. O to I, A to E, masculine, feminine. There are nouns, however, that end in an E in the singular, and you can't tell by looking at them if they're masculine or feminine. There are some little rules for certain nouns, and I'll share those with you in a few minutes, but for the most part, you can't tell unless there's an article or a descriptor attached, and then you'll be able to tell. So those nouns end in E, both in the masculine and feminine form, and then when you make them plural, they're going to end in an I. Va bene? Okay, so now I want to show you some examples where we're taking the singular noun and changing it to the plural and show you what happens. I'm not going to lie, this stuff is difficult because there are lots of rules and then there are lots of exceptions to the rule. So just be patient and know with learning anything, it just takes time and familiarity, and then you'll be able to distinguish when there's an exception to the rule, okay, and why. So these are a list of masculine nouns here. So you can tell that they're masculine because they end in O in the singular form, right? So then I made them plural over here. So if you look at the first one, ripetete, libro. That is singular. When we make it plural to say books, we say libri. O to the I in all of these. The next one, ripetete, ufficio. Ufficio means office, okay? When we make it plural, it's uffici. Uffici just drops the O. and that's all you do. But if you look at the next one here ends in an IO2 and it does something different. So, ripetete, zio. When we make zio, uncle, plural, we actually add another I. And the reason why we do this is because the stress is on the I. The accent is on the I. So any word in Italian that's masculine singular that ends in an IO where the stress falls on that io, you're going to double up the I. They're not very common, these types of words that have a doubled up I in the plural. Zii, uncles, or it could be aunts and uncles. And so that's something just that I want you to understand too. When you're talking about people and it's a plural masculine form, that could mean a group of all guys, or it could be a mix of girls and guys, because when it's a mix of girls and guys, it ends up taking the masculine ending, okay? So the next one, lago. Lago means lake. When you make it plural, however, you have to add an H to retain that hard G sound. So laghi, lakes. So anytime a noun ends in a G-O and you make it plural, add an H. Lago, laghi. Va bene? Next one here, amico. Amico, you might have heard this word before, it means friend. And when you make it plural, the plural is amici. Amici. But notice what happens now when we have another noun that ends in a CO. Gioco. Gioco means game. When we make it plural, we have to add an H. Giochi. Giochi. So this is why I said earlier Italian is difficult, because you have two nouns here. One you don't add an H and the other you add an H in the plural. How do you know? Well, the rule is if the accent falls on the next to the last syllable, then you add an H, okay? So remember that. Gioco, gioco, you add an H. Amico does the same thing, right? So this word now is defying the rule. Amico, the accent's on the next to the last syllable, is a rule breaker. As you study Italian, you're going to find that there are lots of words that are rule breakers, unfortunately. So now we'll look at some feminine nouns that end in A and look at their plurals as well. And you'll see some tricky things here too. Mi dispiace, sorry. Okay, the first one, ripetete, macchina. Macchina is car, and the plural, macchine. Easy, right? Next one, studentessa is a female student. So when you see a noun that ends in essa, you know that you're talking about a woman. And Italians will do this to distinguish gender, actual gender, female, male, within a profession. So studente is how to say a male student, where studentessa is how to say a female student. And you'll see this in other, like I said, other professions too. So professore, a male professor, professoressa, a female professor. Va bene? La prossima, amica. Amica is the same word that we just saw earlier, amico, but now it's feminine, so you know it's a friend that's a girl. When you make it plural, you have to add an H. Amiche. Amiche are friends that are girls, okay? So anytime a noun ends in a CA, you're going to add an H in the plural. Here, there are no exceptions. Always add an H when a noun ends in a CA. Same for, I hesitate putting this word up here, but I couldn't think of another feminine singular noun that ended in a GA. Maga. Okay. So the plural is mage. Mage. So maga is a sorceress. So mage with the H would be sorceresses, okay? So that H, again, if a noun ends in a GA, always add an H in the plural, okay? Next one, spiaggia. Spiaggia is the word for beach. So see how there's a blended I-A ending, spiaggia? When you make it plural, you drop the I, and that's because the accent doesn't fall on the final I. Spiaggia, the accent is here over the A. So spiagge, beaches, drop the I. But the next one ends in a CIA as well, but the accent is on the final I, farmacia. So you're going to keep the I in the plural. Farmacie, pharmacy, pharmacies. Va bene? Andiamo avanti. So now we'll look at some nouns that end in an E, and like I said, you're not going to be able to tell if they're feminine or masculine by looking at them. I'll just tell you. So for the first one, ripetete, studente. I already told you that was masculine because studentessa is feminine. That's for a female student. So the plural of student is studenti, ending in an I. And again, that can refer to a group of all male students or a mix of female and male students. Va bene? La prossima, esame, is the word for exam. And the plural, esami. This is masculine. Esame, the word for exam, is masculine. Again, you can't tell by looking at it. That's why I'm telling you. La prossima, attore. Attore is actor. And the plural, attori. Attore is masculine. It's a male actor because there's another ending that you will see sometimes attached to the end of professions to identify gender, and that is attrice. Is an actress. We do the same thing in English. We have actor and actress. So attrice, and then the plural would be attrici. And l'ultima, classe, is feminine. It's the word for class, classroom, and the plural, classi. So the rule, it's just simple, I to I e basta. Allora, un'altra lista, and I want to explain some particularities about nouns now, okay? So, la prima parola, dottore, dottore, ends in an O-R-E. And I said before, with professions, you can add essa or ice sometimes to the end to distinguish gender, right? So, O-R-E, when you see a noun that ends in O-R-E, it's always going to be masculine, okay? Tuck that away. So, televisore, any noun that you see in O-R-E is masculine, okay? So now you know that. So the plural, dottori, see? La prossima, lezione. So again, you can't tell the gender, but it is feminine. It's the word for class, like I'm going to class. Lezione, ending in an E. Anytime you see a noun that ends in a ione, it's feminine, okay? Lezione, stazione, all feminine. And then the plural, lezioni. So here, autobus is the word for bus, like the bus that you take around the city. When you make it plural, if a noun ends in a consonant, you don't change the ending. So see, I changed for the plural, it's just autobus. So don't do anything if it ends in a consonant. Va bene? And the next one as well, you see that it didn't change. So for some reason, a lot of my students have a hard time pronouncing this word. They always want to say the accent on the first syllable, but the accent is written on the last syllable. And I've said before, there are not a lot of written accents in Italian. So when you see one, make sure you emphasize it there. Città, città. You can even move your hand to make you try to go up at the end, not città, like the animal, città, città. Okay, so again, don't change the end of any noun. If it ends in an accented vowel, it stays the same. E qui abbiamo foto. And you see when it changes to plural, it's still foto. And that is because it's an abbreviation. So anytime a noun is abbreviated, it does not change. So the original word is fotografia. So it's actually feminine. Fotografia is feminine. The abbreviation looks like it would be masculine, but when you add the article, it's not going to be masculine. It's going to be a feminine article because it's based on the original word fotografia. Poi l'ultima parola qui, problema. It looks like it should be feminine, right? Because it ends in an A. This is one of those rule breakers. Again, when you see a noun that ends in an EMA, it's masculine, even though it ends in an A. So the plural is not probleme, it's problemi, okay? Poema, poemi, okay? Masculine. So tuck all of these little tidbits of information away. I know I'm giving you a lot of things to think about. So like I said, you'll remember these with time. So finally now we can talk about the indefinite article. Now you know all the rules for nouns and categorizing them masculine or feminine, singular, plural, and then changing them back and forth from singular to plural, right? And lots of little things. You can watch this video a bunch of times too, and that'll help you remember. Hopefully you're taking notes because there are a lot of details. So now what we're going to do is look at the indefinite article, l'articolo indeterminativo. And this is just how to say a or an. So there are two masculine indefinite articles and two feminine indefinite articles. And I wrote some nouns down and I'll explain what the rules are based on these nouns, okay? So if you use the indefinite article un, okay, it's going to be before a noun that's masculine that starts with a consonant or that starts with a vowel. So two examples here, un libro, a book, un esame, an exam. One starts with a consonant, one starts with a vowel. When you use uno, it's going to be very particular. The word is going to start with a Z, uno zio, an uncle, or the word is going to start with an S followed by a consonant, uno studente. See? Or a PS combination, uno psicologo, a psychologist, or a GN combination, uno gnocco, one gnocco out of a big plate of gnocchi, the potato dumpling, delicious dish that hopefully you have tried before. So Z, S plus a consonant, PS, or GN, those are the only times you're going to use uno as the indefinite article. So un is way more popular. You're going to see that much more often. Va bene? So the feminine is a little bit easier. You either have una or un with an apostrophe. It's una when it comes before any noun that starts with a consonant, like lezione, una lezione, a lesson, a class, una studentessa, a female student, okay? And then you're going to use un apostrophe when the word starts with a vowel. Un'amica, a friend that's a girl, or un'idea, an idea. Both start with vowels, so both cut off that final A, add the apostrophe, and that's so you're not stumbling over your words. It flows better. Instead of saying una amica, you say un'amica, una idea, un'idea, okay? It's for flow of the conversation. So I think we have time to include che and chisono because it's a really pretty easy concept and it doesn't take a lot of time to explain. So when you want to describe things to say there is and there are, you use this phrase, c'è and chisono. C'è, there is, singular. Chisono, there are, plural. So this is a chi here too, but there's two vowels next to each other, so you get rid of the I, add the apostrophe, and then add the A. So these are both conjugations of the verb essere, the verb to be, okay? So let's look at some examples of when we're going to use each of these. Ecco, una lista. And I included the indefinite article in front of the noun, okay? Allora, c'è un libro. C'è un libro. There is a book. The thing about c'è that you can do and chisono is you can take the phrase, the statement, and you can turn it into a question to ask something. C'è un libro? Maybe you're looking for a book. Is there a book? C'è un libro? Just add inflection at the end. Però the statement, c'è un libro, there is a book. C'è una studentessa. There is a student, a female student. C'è un autobus. There is a bus. C'è uno studente. There's a male student. And the last one, you haven't seen this one, but I just added it here for more vocabulary. C'è un'università. C'è un'università. So that must be a feminine singular, right? A feminine noun because there's the un apostrophe. So you have all the variations of the indefinite article that you can use. Un, uno for the masculine, una and un apostrophe for the feminine. Va bene? So now let's look at some phrases with Chisono. Ecco. Alcune frasi con Chisono, okay? So I'm not including the definite article because maybe you don't know that yet. So instead, I included numbers, okay? Maybe you don't know those either, but here they are. Oh, I hear my dog barking. So for the first one, ci sono due dottori. Ci sono due dottori. There are two doctors, okay? Plural. This is all plural. Ci sono tre tavoli. There are three tables. Ci sono quattro studenti. There are four students. And again, this could be a group of all male students or female and male students. And then the last one, I threw in a molto there. So I said, ci sono molte macchine. Ci sono molte macchine. There are many cars. This is a little advanced vocabulary, but when you use molto to mean many, it changes to agree with the noun that it modifies. So change the N to make it plural. Molte macchine. Va bene? Benissimo. Siete pronti per il quiz? Are you ready for the quiz? So this time I'm writing them on the whiteboard. You can take some time to write these all down. What I want you to do is or take a picture of it with your phone or something. I want you to change all of these to the plural. So let me give you a couple notes about some things. Most of these are words that we saw already in the video, but if they're not, you're going to apply the same rules that you learned from the nouns in the rest of the video. Like albergo, we didn't see that earlier, but it ends in a G-O, okay? So think about what that means. Bar, we didn't see that earlier either, but it ends in a consonant. Moto is an abbreviation for motocicletta, okay? And the rest we saw already. Stazione, I mentioned it, but I didn't write it down. It ends in a ione though, right? Okay, so pause the video and I want you to write the plural of these nouns. Okay. Ecco le risposte. So when you make amico plural, it becomes amici, and you don't add the H. That is one of those words, though, that's an exception, remember? Because I said earlier you do add an H when the accent is on the second to the last syllable, and that one is amico, but it defies the rule. The next one, amica, becomes amiche with an H, because anytime a noun ends in a CA, you add an H in the plural. The next one too, albergo, you need to add an H in the plural. Something I didn't mention before is that when a noun ends in an ogo, like psicologo, we saw that earlier, you don't add an H in the plural. Okay, so if a noun ends in ologo, don't add the H. But for the most part, when a noun ends in a GO, add an H in the plural. The next one, bar, the plural is bar because it ends in a consonant, so you don't change anything. Same with moto. I said moto was an abbreviation for motocicletta, so it just stays the same. And then zio, you double up the I in the plural because that accent is on the last I, or is on the I. Zio, Z with two I's. Stazione becomes stazioni, E to the I. And then città, you don't change because it ends in an accented vowel. Va bene? How'd you do? Hopefully you did well. Bravi. So now what I want you to do is erase the plural, and I want you to write the indefinite article for those singular nouns. Ecco gli articoli indeterminativi. Okay? So in front of amico, it's masculine. It starts with a vowel, so it's un amico. Amica, though, it starts with a vowel, but it's feminine, so we need that apostrophe after the un'amica. And it sounds the same when you say it, un amico, un'amica. That apostrophe doesn't do anything with the way that you say it. It's just there because it should be una, and we don't want to study over that una amica. The next one, la prossima, un albergo. Again, it's masculine singular, so it requires un bar. It's masculine, so that's the article. Maybe this one was a little tricky because moto looks like it should be masculine, but I told you that the word is motocicletta, and that's what you based the article off of, not the abbreviation. So it's actually una moto. Hard, difficile. Okay, the next one, an uncle, uno zio, because zio starts with a Z, so we need that uno as the article. Una stazione, it ends in E, but we know that it's feminine, so una. And then the last one, una città, ending in an accented vowel. E basta! Come va? How did it go? Benissimo, sono contenta. So I know there were a lot of details in this video, so if you need to watch it a few times, that's fine. And just as I said before, know that all of this takes time to remember. It's not happening overnight, in this next week, but with your practice, continued practice, and your continued studies, you'll remember all of these things. I was able to do it, and if I can do it, you can do it too, okay? So, buono studio e ci vediamo presto. Ciao amici!